Alright, what? How can I be streaming if I don't have, if I'm not signed in? Gosh darn it, what? Hey, boy. So, welcome, my fellow risers, to my new office, chez Sarah, in Sarah's home. My partner, oh boy, how am I gonna complete sign in now? Okay, I thought I had gotten some things sorted. Okay, so apparently, so I am now live on my channel. Okay, great. Um, okay, good. Complete sign in using your passkey. So I need to take my phone off of the tripod. Okay, hold on, bro. Um, Alright, oh boy, come on, let's go. And where is this, bro? Oh boy. Um, Complete sign in using. Oh, okay. It must be on my computer. It's somewhere else. I see. Okay. Let's try this again. Well, I guess we're just gonna keep trying, but we're doing another method, so I want you to restart the clock. Bro, that is not the same video. Why is that so much tighter right now? All right, I just spent like 20 minutes trying to figure out this camera stuff. And I have so much I want to talk about. So I'm getting frustrated. And that's part of what we want to talk about. All right, so wait, what happened to? Oh boy. By the way, if you're saying anything, I can't see it yet because join the no up. Okay, great. Join the. All right, so that's fine. That's not. Boop boop. All right, that's not too bad. And all right, now we need to find this window that's asking for my passkey, especially before like time's out or something. All right, hit mission control. There's nothing. Okay, try another way then. Yeah, I do want to use my passkey though. Oh boy, no. Okay, enter your password. Just trying to. Oh, autofill. Great. Passwords. Excellent. Fingerprint. I know. Should I just like pause it? I don't really know what I'm doing, guys. So, no, I don't think I want to just pause it. If I'm being honest with you, she's gonna push right through. Oh boy, that's my password. Oh, two-step verification. You are fucking kidding me, bro. Tap yes on your phone or tablet. Um, Tap yes on the device your recovery email is signed into. I just don't want it to be this phone, bro. Anything that doesn't involve me having to touch that phone right now, because I'm pretty sure this is a tighter zoom than it, but I don't understand. I really am so confused. Resolution and frame rate, portrait. What does this do? Nope, that's not what we want. All right. Is that what it looked like a second ago? Okay, whatever. So we're gonna go back to OBS. Oh, this is BS. Use your passkey. Tap yes on your phone or tablet. No, let's go. Hey, buddy. Let's go. Can you like be taller? Because it would be great for views if you could be in the frame, bro. Hey, bro, hop up on here a second. Give him something to look at while I figure this out. Jump up on here. Up, 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 Good boy. Can you put your paws on my lap? It'll get you a little more height. Come here, buddy. Up. There you go. Yes, excellent, awesome. But now, like, look at them. Look pretty. Yeah, yeah. Get engagement. Yeah, look at them. Oh, you're such a good boy. Okay, no, but we can, I can do it. Yeah, look. What's that? What is that? What is that? What's that over there? Hey, look. What's that? Who's that? Okay, no, it's fine. Great job, buddy. Okay, so, all right. So what email? You signed into one of your recovery email, blah, blah, blah. I can send a notification. Oh, I haven't actually told it to do it yet. Do you have your iPhone or iPhone? I, what about this one? Yes, yes, I have this one. Oh, boom, got it. This, here, Uber phone. Good. Can you select, yes, it's me. Almost, almost. All right. How did it taste? Yes, it's me. Ugh. Neo, you got saliva on the screen, bro. Yes, it's me. 24, great. Whoa, we've got a chat. We have 3 messages. Hi, wow, hi, awesome, hello. Okay, now. Neo's like, all right, stop with this bit. I'm not really trying to be that involved in the live. All right, good. Okay, all right, let's go. So, what are we? So, everything's set up now? Microphone, camera. Great. So, can I get into it now? Excellent. Okay. Um, okay, so we have a bunch of work to do, but I want to get into what I want to talk about. We have to delete videos off of the phone. We're reading this. This is what we're going to be doing a lot of the next few days in preparation for our meeting at the end of January with University of Illinois Chicago professor of psychology Dr. Maria Schachtman. So we're going to be doing that. But we've got some self-actualization, some therapy to do with ourselves. And then we also just want to can't see jack shit really, but so we're probably gonna put like posters there. Well, these brain posters and stuff. Um, color's off, isn't it? The lighting's off. We're not gonna worry about that. That's okay. All right. We want to put up papers and posters. That's the next thing on this list. Um, and then Q. Okay, good. So here's what I think I want to start with. Um, Fuck it. Let's just see what happens. Let's just see what happens. I'm probably not gonna do this the right way, but let's just see what happens.
Hi.
Hello, Father.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Are you in the office?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just working on I'm doing a live stream, and there's some stuff that I want to talk about and think about on the stream. Um, and I'm doing some like, self-actualization, looking at my own thinking, kind of trying to evaluate, be flexible, adjust, improve, things like that. And so something that would be helpful First of all, you answering is helpful. I love you. Thank you for answering. Not that you haven't been or something, but hello. So I was wondering if um you could if and of course now could be a bad moment, in which case maybe we can figure that out when I can call you back. But if you could give me an opinion that you think you have, that's I mean, not that you think you have, an opinion that you have about the brain or neuroscience or something that is different from mine, and then a piece of evidence to support it, and not so that we can discuss now, just so that I can take that little piece and process that.
Um, uh, you are live. He said he's live. So you're live streaming me right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I'm tied up right now, so I can't do that right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll start talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Bye. All right. I'll hang up.
Uh,
Okay, and that is a thing that makes it tricky. Well, she's probably just gone to the live stream. So hello again, Father. Um, yeah, that makes it tricky because I really value being able to revisit and also get an external opinion on things, and also being able to revisit like the objective facts, the objective shit. Um, but he doesn't feel very comfortable being recorded or well being exposed because I think he might be afraid he might be exposed. I don't know, but maybe he's actually just busy right now. So, um, but I did want to. I forgot to try to figure out another time to do it. Okay, so let's just talk about the stuff that I want to talk about, and you'll see. Um, and we'll put that all in context. Oh, I'm getting overwhelmed. So we're gonna take a second. So here's the deal, right? Um, this is the first time. This is my third visit to Springfield, Illinois. Um, and the first visit since talk about me moving in here to Springfield. So I haven't completely moved in, but I brought a lot of stuff. So I have mostly moved in a lot of ways. And I'm processing, aspects of why I made the move now beyond my romantic relationship, why I left home, trying to not ramble too much, trying to keep to the thread. Hi, Luffy. Um, I guess people probably just like click the say hi and then, well, I don't know. Um, so, um, I do think I have to talk through these things. I think this is valuable. I don't really know. Um, oh, but you don't. I should put some text on the screen so that when people are scrolling, they have like some sense of what's happening, some access to what's happening. So I'm gonna try to do that really quickly. So create a text layer. Hello. Text. Hi. I'm Eris. I'm Eris. Oh, we need definitely gonna need to make it smaller. Oh, here I see those all that information. I'm partly overwhelmed because there's like a desperation to keep somebody who scrolls to this video on the video. So now that I've named that, I'm hoping it's gonna lose some power, and I'm just gonna do my thing. Font, Helvetic, select font. Okay. So it's 256 right now. Don't need that. 32. Okay. Oh, yikes. All right. 64. So that's a fourth of what it was. Let's go 100. All right. All right. I'm Eris. No, we're not gonna write all that out. I'm Eris, neurophilosopher. Um, where am I? Because that's kind of what this video is about. It's like me questioning my legitimacy and also trying to transcend that questioning or structure that questioning, make it more objective so it's not pathological and chronic. So that I don't feel silly just all the time daring to talk about something in the field. Okay, I know what to do. It's properties. Uh, Let me ramble about slash in my new office and why. Okay, doesn't need to make any sense, and I think it kind of makes sense. It's alright if it doesn't though, because that's what we're practicing. Okay, right. So we're not practicing that we want to just put things out that don't make any sense, but it's about prioritizing. So what do we want? What shouldn't make sense? What is the priority to make sense? What do we want to make sense? So maybe the cognitive dissonance story would be cool. Well, it's the cognitive dissonance of stories. The story of the cognitive dissonance of stories. No, but try to make some sense, bro. Cognitive dissonance story. Gosh, now it just feels so far away, the monitor thing, but that's what prompted a lot of the things that I want to talk about here. Um, and then let's see, working together, and then like I'm just gonna be the rambling possible fool who sometimes maybe says things of value guy. Because I do want to talk about that little thing. Um, great. All right. All right, here we go. So, I was in Europe for 10 years, moved back into my family home, um, to help out, and then obviously there was a lot of benefit to me, because I was, in an RV, and so I didn't have constant electricity and Wi-Fi, and so I wouldn't have wanted to get that, but I still, I didn't want to give up that living outside and all those adventures. Um, but um, but I am happy to contribute to the family. So when they asked me to come back to help take care of Uncle, okay. Um, and but again, I'm not complaining because there's tons of comforts and the electricity and the Wi-Fi. That was great, so that I could do this channel and so on. Can you check to see if I'm live? Okay. Um, I mean, maybe just everybody click dislike so YouTube just stopped showing it, but it's just because I had like a bunch of highs and now. So anyway, um, so, um, but there was a problem. Something difficult about working at home, and that was cognitive dissonance. Okay. Okay, great. So give it a little like. Say, wow, you might be completely full of shit, but you just say whatever you want. Um, and pretend like it's not you. Be like, hey, I don't know you at all. I just came across your channel, and wow, so cool. Okay. So cognitive dissonance was a problem. I am not great at resolving cognitive dissonance. Just feel like I've said this so many times today, but it's probably only been like twice or three times, or over the past couple days. Okay, what is cognitive dissonance? All right, well, I'll give 20 seconds just in case um, somebody, not you, wants to say what it is. Well, of course, there's a lag as well, right? So, what are you hearing right now? Ah, okay. All right. So that's the lag. So beep 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 beep. All right, great job, class. So cognitive dissonance is basically when you have two conflicting stories. Okay, not just on the table in front of you, but like in here. Um, and you hate that. Okay, you in the sense of the whole thinking system. Not just the verbal system. Wow, this is the first time I've seen your channel. I'm blown away. Mine is blown. Oh, sweetheart, you ain't seen nothing yet. Wherever that, I just got this comment. Don't be jealous, but I just got this comment. Someone's excited. Okay, so you have two conflicting stories. Okay, so let's say, oh wow, she thinks she's saying it's profound. Oh my gosh, maybe it is. I don't really know, bro. I can't judge. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. We also need to put a microphone over there because otherwise they can't really hear you, and so I'm just kind of looking off, and I don't know whether to repeat what you're saying or what. Anyway, let me just focus on this lady here who's eating it all up right now. Okay, so two conflicting stories. Um, so an example, you shot your shot, you were rejected, okay? And you now have two conflicting stories because of the self-serving mechanisms that you have. There is definitely a story like I am lovable, or I know I um like people are interested in me. Nope. Hold on. I'm messing this up already, bro. Oh no, this woman's gonna be so disappointed. Okay, hold on a second. So you're rejected. One of the stories is I am not worth that person's time. And that story is suggested by the rejection. Okay. And, with some interpretation. But pretty natural with some pretty natural interpretation. This story is gonna land somewhere in the mind. I am not worthy of that person's time. Well, because of we have a lot of self-serving mechanisms that keep us sane and somewhat happy or something. So you also have a story. I am worthy of that person's time. I'm glad I used this example. This is good. So now we have two different well, so it's I am worthy of people's time, and well, because this person is a people, I am worthy of this person's time. Okay. So we have to no, I god damn it, I'm fucking it up, Sarah. No, I'm not. Okay, because so what you do to resolve the cognitive dissonance, what happens automatically, because there's a whole system dedicated to the left brain interpreter, I guess, is dedicated to resolving cognitive dissonance by just dropping one of the realities often, or maybe coming up with some crazy thing that can reconcile the two realities. Um, so I am worthy of this person's time. I am not worthy of this person's time. I'm trying to get to the resolution might be like, I don't care about that person. Well, one, okay, so I don't know how that one works, but one is, oh, I wasn't really trying, or that person's gay, right? That's one that obviously we hear a lot. Someone rejects you, and you go, I think they might have been gay. And that person may really believe that. The person who got rejected, who's that it's really powerful, the resolution of cognitive dissonance. Not feeling this at all, but I'm gonna persevere through it. Okay, so it's um so right, so that this is how you've come up with another thing such that not being worthy of this person's time doesn't mean you're not worthy of people's time in general, or that you're not worthy because this person's an exception. They're gay, they're stupid, they're something. Um yeah. I really want to see if I can take a breath and explain why we say like, oh, I didn't want that job anyway. Okay, so one story is I can get the things that I want. But then I got turned down for this job. So there's, oh, wait, I can't get the things that I want. So then by saying, oh, I didn't want that job anyway, um, you no longer have this competing story of, I can't get things that I want because I don't want it. So I can get things that I want, and I got rejected from that job, but that's fine. I didn't want that job. So no cognitive dissonance. Okay. Makes sense, right? Great. So, my cognitive dissonance, on the one hand, we have a story that I tell myself that, I believe that I think is based on correctly interpreted experiences that I got interested in understanding the mind at a relatively early, young age. That I was kind of quickly became obsessed, or almost was innately obsessed with understanding certain things that relate to the mind sciences, like why are people so how can two people be so confident and certain and have different opinions, and even when they're in the same room and they see that the other person is just as certain as they are, they don't go, oh, hang on, something might be off. And also, why do people get so confident about these things that will seem pretty crazy to me, and definitely seem crazy to at least one other person. um and who's wrong, and how. So anyway, so there are a lot of things in psychology and in philosophy that from a very young age were really important to me. Um, so being exposed, for instance, to dogmatic religious people and dogmatic atheists, and going, yeah, what's going on? How do people think they have all these answers about these things that seem so inaccessible to me? So you should be atheist, but why are the atheists being so dogmatic? Okay, so I've always been really interested in these things, and you know, was reading about it, starting in seventh, eighth grade. Not about belief systems, but just about the brain in general. And then a lot more in high school. I competed in a brain competition, which is an important feature of this narrative. But what isn't an important feature is that I didn't win. I think I came in second or maybe even third in the brain like competition. Like they ask you questions about the brain, you have to answer. I got out on substance P. I didn't know what substance P was. They were like, what's the molecule involved in pain? And they kept saying in pain. They were literally trying to help me. I was like, I don't know this. And then the person who knew nothing about the brain, this Christian girl that went into the Navy after high school, but this was our senior year. And I spent hours in the library. Anyway, she won. Um, great job, Lorraine Cho. I'm so happy for you. Uh, so, so anyway, back to the story I tell myself about. By the way, this whole story is about that I am legitimate to be doing this, what I'm doing right now. That you can ask me questions about the mind, and if I think that I have an answer, you can count on it, and I'll tell you if I don't have an answer. So that's this whole story. Okay, so in that story, or the reason that that's the conclusion of the story is because I spent a long time, because I'm good at thinking about these things, and because I am humble. Yeah, I didn't say I'm the best in the fucking world at doing these things. I said I'm good at doing these things, which is actually quite modest because I think I'm actually great at doing at thinking about these things. Maybe not in an organized way, but still in an effective way. Um, so time will tell. You can tell me what you think, I guess. I say I guess because I know that it will count a great deal for me what you say. So if you say, nope, you're terrible at thinking about these things, that's going to be playing on loop, and and that's going to have a big effect on me. This is what this whole thing is about. So I said, I guess, because, I don't know how much I want to encourage just anybody, like people I don't know, because I don't know how much weight your opinion should have for me. And I know that it's going to have a lot of weight. And anyway, okay. So, story one, the neurophilosopher. Spent a lot of time, used a lot of good skill to learn a lot of things about the brain, and then develop well founded, justified new ideas and opinions. So the claims that I make that I can't be certain of because we haven't, demonstrated it beyond a shadow of a doubt, I still think I have the legitimacy to make. And then, I qualify them in different ways, right? Some things I'll say, I don't know, that's just a thought. And then other things I say, I really do think that you can, bet the house on blank. You might lose your house, but I think that there's much greater chance that you'll win another house. So, yeah, so that, okay, well, that's that story. That, yeah. There's another story that I've been confronting the last 2 to 3 years. Um, so, in a sense, so as a kid, I wanted, and I still want to, and that's kind of the root of the whole thing. I want to impress my dad. And I mean, I really am my father's son. In a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, I want to think that I'm not, but in a lot of ways, I am, and strive to be. Um, yeah. I don't know. I can get used to it. No, I can get used to it. I can get used to it. No, no, no. I can get used to it. I can get used to it. I can get used to it. You can look. You can look. Um, so as a kid, my dad taught me that science is one of the most important things in the world. That and trying to be, a good person, a good citizen. Those two things are pretty central things to me. He Here are some things that I guess I can note them in here just to slow myself down a bit. Here are some things that he taught me specifically about the mind that are foundational to my current thinking about the mind. He told me it was modular. Okay. That each piece of the brain or that the brain can be thought of as composed of different modules, each one with its own role. Um, just like this pen, right? This pen isn't made up of a bunch of little pens. Okay. It has this part that has a job, which I'm not going to figure out how to articulate right now. It has this part, okay? It has these different parts, and each part is just concerned with its job, okay? Secondly, well, also just like empiricism, because I think that plays an important role in um, these questions about the mind that we're going to be getting to eventually in on this live. Another thing was if then. Now, he didn't tell me that the mind could be thought of as a network of if then associations, but he did say, and this is a true thing because he had read it and then shared it with me. And I was probably like a tween or something. Um, that a good way to operate in life. Well, if you want to install a habit, if you want to change your behavior, if you want to affect a behavior with an E, affect a behavior, you want to produce a certain behavior, um, present it to yourself as an if then behavior. So, for instance, you want to go to the gym. Okay, well, tell yourself, let's say you want to go to the gym at lunch. If it's 11 a.m. on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, then I go to the gym. That by presenting to yourself that statement, that association, by rehearsing that association, um, well, you're installing that association such that when you look at the clock on Monday and it says 11 a.m., that'll more smoothly, or the behavior that you want, the consequence, the then of going to the gym, will is more easily triggered, more smoothly triggered than if you hadn't rehearsed the association. That makes sense, right? Okay. Um, so that it's modular, the value of sort of limiting our statements of facts to things that have been observed, studied, established, whatever, revealed through experimentation. And then the relevance of if then associations to mental processing. I feel like there are like five things. But I guess we're gonna leave it at that for now because that's already pretty significant. Okay. Oh, I haven't done the other story. Right. Okay. I was telling, but I want to tell this really nice story about, from my perspective, my relationship with my father, and wanting to impress him and all the things that I've learned from him. Partly because if he is watching this, maybe something will click. Maybe he'll understand my perspective in a way that I don't feel um, that he has reliably seen so far. Like I know that there are parts of him that know everything I'm gonna say, but those parts are kind of buried away. And only once in a blue moon do you see evidence of them. But yeah. Anyway, so what we're talking about is the cognitive dissonance that I've been experiencing the last few years and why I'm here rather than at home. Um, okay, right. So, story one. You're doing it great. Just keep it up. Aw, thank you so much, baby. So story one is that I learned these valuable things from my father, then like obsessively and skillfully learned a lot more, such that it's a good idea that you're paying attention, that you're watching this. Okay. Story number two is I'm completely full of shit. Um, well, I'm an arrogant, self-deceiving piece of shit. Bit of an exaggeration. He's definitely never called me that. Um, Now, where's that story coming from? Okay, why, well, how is that in my head? What am I seeing to make me think that I need to, or that story exists in his head? Um, there's no curiosity. Um, I thought so in 2022 I called my dad. I'm living in Europe and so in 2015, I gave a presentation on model of cognition. It was wrong. Nobody told me it was wrong, but I realized it was wrong, and it's the most important thing I ever realized because in that model there was a self. There was a self, and then like an intuition, and that intuition was composed of like our heuristics and biases and so on. All the rapid thinking that, yeah, our intuition. And then there's this reasonable self that can then evaluate what the intuition has presented, but do a more careful analysis. Um, and the whole point was we have to be the masters of our intuition. And I was taking for granted that there was a we to be the masters of our intuition, or of these, yeah, these rules of cognition, these computational rules that exist in our cognition that are kind of automatic, um, and not the rational, nuanced mechanisms that we think of the self as being. This video is not about that journey, though. So we're gonna fast forward to me realizing, oh wait, there is no self. Okay. Um. So in 2022, not only have I realized there is no self, um, I came up with what I called sugar rules, and then that led to where I'm at now, which is it theory. So that's my latest model of the mind, and I came up with it in like 2022. And I call my dad, by the way, it is an acronym. It stands for if then. and it's all about a way to talk about and think of the modular mind network of if then associations. And I thought Dad was going to be thrilled. I thought he would think it was brilliant, and just be really impressed. And I thought that even that we could like work on it together. He could help me see what was underdeveloped, what was wrong, and so on. And I got to find the recording of that call. He he dismissed it, but not as. I mean, he just very. I don't know whether he had like maybe seen me talking about it in videos. I don't know. We did not have the conversation I thought we were gonna have. He said, "Oh well, I mean, I think you're off your rocker." And I remember I chuckled and wanted to like continue the conversation. Like, what do you mean? Like, what part? But that's kind of where we've been the last 3 years. For the last 3 years, it's kind of been, hey, well, anyway, so so there hasn't been. So I thought it would be like, you know, he taught me some really important things, and I named a few of them about science in general, about life in general, about the mind sciences. And so I thought that I'd go and do all this work, this thinking, this reading, this observing, and I'd come back and present it to him. And because he hasn't done all this reading, so I thought there'd be curiosity. I thought it'd be like, oh wow, yeah, because he's always told me I'm so smart. So I thought, you know, surely I'm gonna present this thing to him, and oh, oh mother, hello mother, oh that's awesome, great eye contact, cool. I don't know why they were hiding your messages, mom. You were the and you sent the first message too. You're number one. Why did it? Because I didn't have it on live chat. I had it on top chat. Why you wouldn't be in top chat, mother? I mean, not mother. Some random fan that has neuro spelled wrong, mom as her username. Don't know who it is, but obviously a big fan. Anyway, so what were we saying? So yeah, my thank you. So my dad's always said that I was smart, and so it didn't make any sense to me why there wasn't every time I would try to like share what I've learned, it seemed to me that he was ready to disagree with it like that, as though it didn't count for anything that I'd spent all this time on it and that I was smart. That I mean, you know what I mean. If someone that has spent time on something and you think is smart says to you something that doesn't sound true to you, you go, huh, okay, what? Tell me more. You know? You don't just say, no, no, that's wrong. But that's what kept happening. Um, and and he would send me like articles that 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 are not like definitive evidence against what I say, because we're in kind of uncharted territory, right? So some people believe that there's still like room for a conscious agent in our, in what we're going to discover about the mind. And so in these articles, they're looking at what the mechanics of that could be, maybe quantum mechanics. Other people think no, there's no conscious agent. And in no meaningful way can you talk about a singular unitary self when it comes to people. Um, these are I was gonna say they're both tenable positions. I don't think that the former is. In fact, damn it, has it arrived? The losing ourselves? Did a delivery person come? Thank you so much. In fact, in this book that I've only listened to the beginning of so far, we have a meeting with him at the end of the month. In this book, he says that, well, at least some Indian philosophers were just like, if you just like think about it 2 seconds, you realize that the self doesn't make any sense. So, it's a bit like, and I hope Dad isn't watching this because, well, he'll just turn it off if he hears this. So I guess it doesn't make a difference. Oh, you said no. Okay. It's a bit like religion in the sense that there's a whole lot of internal reasons to believe in those stories. There's a drive to believe to be a Christian. I mean, maybe not to follow the rules, but to accept its narrative. Or any religion. But there's very little evidence for it. There's a lot of evidence for the much less intuitively appealing, the counterintuitive idea that it was kind of an accident, that there wasn't an intelligent designer and so on. Well, I maintain that that is very similar to the conversation about consciousness, about a self, about a soul, etc. Um, and we can definitely unpack that, but I kind of want to put that in. But I'm trying to stay focused. But let's just say, long story short, um, the brain didn't evolve with neuroscience, but it did evolve to come up with a sense of self because that is useful for a social species. For an individual to see itself as, instead of trillions of cells all doing a bunch of different things, to see it as a self. It's definitely some really good opportunity there. But again, that's not the point either, so we're gonna try to keep it moving. Um, so yeah, so the brain developed this really strong intuition that it is an irreducible animus, essence, that can survive material death, that is, the invisible possessor of the material. Um, and so that's how I kind of compare compare the two ideas, souls and gods, right? And gods only, it's in so we want ourselves to be magical. The brain needs to believe it's magical. Okay, basically. And the only way for a human to be magical is if it had a magical creator. Because if it just accidentally happened on this earth, then that means that I'm like no different from, or I'm not, fundamentally different from a tree or a dog or something like that. If you're telling me there wasn't a magical being that breathed magic into this, physical material, if I'm just physical material, well, you know, well, I can't be. I reject that. I mean, that's how it goes. Yo, can you be cooler and less quirky and less? Oh, thanks, babe. Oh, thanks, babe. Excellent job. Thank you. Um, so okay, so the two stories, so we can be done with that part of the setup. Two stories are one, I'm legitimate. Two, I'm so illegitimate that someone who hasn't taken any neuroscience classes, who started one, to his credit, who has definitely started some books about the brain, but I'm not sure has ever finished any, needn't be curious about why I think things that he doesn't think to be true. I'm so illegitimate that in this second story, the one that, is giving me some angst, thank you. Um, oh, right, there's a lag. Okay. I'm so illegitimate that, yeah, I'm not worth that explaining my opinion isn't worth my dad's time. Again, my dad being someone with uh, limited neuro education, and limited, yeah, obsessing about these questions and blah blah. By limited, I don't mean none, by the way, because he's definitely come up with some really important things that as I said, are foundational to my current thinking. Yeah, and so illegitimate that I could spend 20 years, so I'm 34 now. I started reading about the mind when I was 13. I'll be 35 this month. About 20 years thinking about something, wanting to try to understand something, and not know that actually I've come up with nothing, that I'm off my rocker, and that does that make sense? Have I made that? Have I does that sing these two different stories? And now, typically, what a brain would do is just throw away the story of me being an arrogant and illegitimate poser. And as I said it somewhere near the top of this stream, I can't do that. I mean, I can. I shouldn't limit myself. We're talking to our therapist today. How can I do that? How can I transcend, refocus, reframe, reappraise, what have you? And we came up with some, well, he gave me some good stuff. But I have not mastered those techniques by any means, don't even really know what they are. And so it was difficult being in that house, and I could express something about the brain and it would be just like immediately dismissed. And he would say, "No, it's not like that. It's like this." And it's like, damn, I don't deserve any questions. I don't deserve any receptivity. Anyway, sorry. There was a moment where I thought I could say to you, yeah, I'm not arrogant enough also to let go of that other story and just dismiss it. And my dad really does think I'm very, very arrogant. And so he's really confused. Why does Eris care so much about me engaging with his ideas? And the reason is because I am taking your not engaging as evidence that I'm full of shit. Especially because he buys books on the brain. And I think he's even started a couple of them. He is, I know for a fact, he is interested in understanding the brain and consciousness. But nothing in his behavior or statements suggests that he thinks I can make any contribution to that. I could partner with him where we look at it together, but not where I can like say, "Oh, I understand this piece well. Let me explain it to you." Right? Unless he has no thoughts about that thing, then he might be open to it. But as soon as something doesn't sound right, he'll say, "No, no, 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 no." Anyway, the point is not to rehash all of this. So let me try to wrap that up. The point is, yeah, cognitive dissonance, these two stories, and it's an extremely unpleasant thing, by the way, cognitive dissonance, which is why brains tend to very quickly just reject one of them, come up with an explanation that it can, that, you know, a way to deceive itself, that it feels compelled by, and move forward. Now, if I were really good at that, I wouldn't be a good philosopher. If I could just unconsciously dismiss another, you know, proposed reality because it doesn't fit with the one that I currently have, I would be a bad philosopher. But of course, I'm kind of at the other extreme where I'm having trouble moving forward. Yeah, anyway. By the way, likewise for French, just to give you some context, I speak French fluently. I also have experience tutoring in a lot of different subjects. And I guess not that much with French. And teaching my dad French didn't work out. He didn't really want to be taught French. Um, he wanted to learn French vocabulary by looking, you know, at a book and memorizing and so on. And he wanted to be able to ask me a question like, "What does this mean?" and then Google it after I answered. Um, which is fine. That's something we have in common, that we need to check things. Okay, great. But if I said, "Here, look at me, Dad. Let's do how about this?" So that's a great word. Well, okay, not that one. That one's not really used very often, but that one's a great word. So, let's have a conversation where you say a sentence with that word, or let's see if we can use the word 5 times we'll start a clock in a 5 minute interaction. Just wouldn't do it. No exercise that I suggested, no sort of lesson plans that I came up with, ways to organize what to explain. He wouldn't do it, you know. And yeah, maybe it's just a control thing, and I've been had my panties in a bunch for just because, you know, I'm taking, you know, his sort of anxiety and the relief that he gets from being in control as evidence that I don't deserve to be in control. But it isn't evidence of that. It's just evidence that he has anxiety and so feels more comfortable when he is in control. Also, he's also has his own ways of dealing with cognitive dissonance. So what he does is if he has a belief, a story, and another story is presented, he's not like me where he's gonna just like sit in this terrible discomfort of cognitive dissonance. He's gonna shut it down. He's gonna shout. He's gonna leave. He's gonna reject. and he's going to repeat over and over again his story, and he's going to get angry. And his anger is like my anger, in that, what they have in common is both being triggered by someone presenting another story and forcing us to, deal with this conflict between, two opposing stories. Now, the difference is that if you just present to me another story, I'm not bothered yet. I'm going to start asking you questions. Now, if you keep presenting that story to me and you're not answering any of my questions about that story, if you keep telling me that my story is wrong, but you won't tell me any of the things wrong with my story or what justifies saying that those things are wrong, now I'm going to get very, very angry. It's going to be pretty intense and pretty quick, much like my father's anger, but I think the triggers are slightly different. Actually, fundamentally, fucking intrinsically, importantly, significantly, substantially different. I think that's everything that I had to say before I look at this. So because it's kind of bringing it full circle. Because see, here I wrote some live stream notes, and I wrote that Dad and I could have worked together on neurophilosophy and then also on ourselves, because we have so much in common, or I should say on our mechanisms, because we have so much in common. We both get very frustrated in conversations. Again, I think there are differences, but still it can be very intense. And my sister as well, his daughter as well. um well, actually, probably all of his kids, probably all the siblings. You gonna do it, bro? You gonna walk them both? So exciting. Probably all the kids. One had to like be a Buddhist. Anyway, I'm not gonna. Anyway. So him and his 5 kids, pretty confident, all struggle with well above average intensity of frustration. Um, and we could be working on this together, but we instead we just keep getting frustrated with each other. Um, let me. No, it's fine. I can keep going. So I gotta say one more thing. So because this is an important piece. A big part of presenting my model of the mind to Father was not just that I think it's a um intelligent and um empirically justified framework. I also think that it would be immensely valuable to us personally. See, I've mentioned that Dad has a lot of really great. I haven't said this sentence, but I'll say it now. Dad has a lot of really great mechanisms, or Dad is composed of a lot of really great mechanisms. Dad is also in that composition. There are some of the worst mechanisms of anybody that I know personally. I want to try to separate those. I want to try to get those good mechanisms to take a nice hard look at those bad ones. Um, so for instance, me, right? I value respecting other people to an extent. I mean, I value truth above it, above respecting other people. But well, I guess there are moments where the truth doesn't matter, and I value respecting other people. I guess top notch. I value community ethics, and I think that like being respectful or polite to you, to like the person in front of me, at the expense of the truth, is worse for community ethics. Let's put it that way. Okay. So, so I think it's important and valuable to be nice and to respect other people. But sometimes I don't. I mean, respect other people. Sometimes I'm rude. Sometimes I got very frustrated and I go too far with, that frustration is so loud in here. And so it's as loud, it comes out as loud, but that's way too loud. Also, because it wasn't, a lot of that intensity isn't really justified, even if it feels justified in here. So what my point is that I have these good mechanisms that know that I shouldn't yell, for instance. But then I also have some mechanisms that send out yelling. Now, if I think of myself as a singular thing, that's cognitive dissonance. On the one hand, I don't think that I should yell. And on the other hand, based on the fact that sometimes I'm yelling, I do think that I should yell. Gotta choose one or the other. So what dad does is he says, I don't really yell that much. Or I don't really yell in like an actually like a harmful way. Um, it's a level that you could. Hey Oliver, I want to let you out, but I can't while they're on a walk because then she's gonna open the front door. It's really I'm explaining to you. I can't let him out right now because then when they come back from their walk, they're gonna open the porch door and he might run out. So that's why I'm gonna go over and get you and see if you want to hang out over here for a bit, huh? Can I use you as a prop in my live stream? Do you want to like what would be like a better place for you to be a prop? Maybe if like you're just gonna get down immediately. I was thinking somewhere like on my shoulder. All right, no worries. Oh, you're looking back, huh? You thinking about it? You want to come back over here? 'Cause it'd be really cool if I was like stroking you. I'd feel really cool. I'd probably feel more relaxed too. Hey, Oliver, come on. No. Hey, come on. Are you coming? No, no, you're not. Okay. Yeah, you just wanted to make it clear that you're not coming. I got you. So I wanted to free my dad of so his current understanding of the mind of a singular self restricts him. Um, I want him to know, in case you're watching, Dad, I want you to know that there is no you who is responsible or to blame for you. Um, it is not it you as a whole system are not bad. Well, period. Well, you are if you think of yourself as a single thing and you think you need to defend and protect any not great parts. That kind of, but you can make it such that we can't label the whole system by understanding that you are distributed and by sort of taking a different kind of responsibility. So rather than being blameworthy of every single mechanism, every single behavior, you can be responsible for them in the sense of acknowledging them and being interested in compensating for them or even mitigating them. By the way, so another thing that he helped me with, that he taught me as a father, is that I have an issue with my temper. Is that sometimes I'm rude to people. Sometimes I get angry. So I grew up in this household where there was only one person allowed to get angry, and only one person who would get extremely angry if you got angry. It was the same person. So kind of tricky, which of course just made me angrier because like the hypocrisy. So thank you anyway, Dad. Though Dad was a big force in my life, and being exposed to the fact that my anger isn't always justified. In fact, usually it isn't. That plus understanding that I'm a distributed self, plus some shrooms, bring me to where I am now, where I am comfortable acknowledging that and working on it and apologizing for it. And and yeah, I'm able to sort of distance myself from some of my thoughts because I don't feel like they are part of this singular essence. In which case they would have to be defended because, I'm going to defend myself. Okay? Makes sense, right? And so rather than just screaming at Dad when he gets mad, well, I tried that actually in my teens. Well, that didn't work. I went away to Europe for 10 years, came up with an understanding of the mind, and tried that approach. So there was the keep you're off your rocker thing. I am rambling, but maybe this can just be my one and done. I was thinking I should write an essay, and I made a couple of videos like this before, but I wasn't live, and so there was I got a little bit too rude, too insulting in those videos. So thanks for letting me do this, gang. So So after the rocker conversation, which was over the phone, um, I don't know, 6 months to a year later, he's in Europe with me. And I think I've probably already tried a few times to, present. By the way, all of this shit falls under the Project Frank. That's my dad's name. And it's also an acronym for Francis reluctantly accepts neuroscience knowledge. Okay? And then becomes, a better person. I don't feel like you're rambling. That's very reassuring. Thank you, whoever you are. Love you. So, right. So we're by my camper, my RV. My dad's a pessimist. He'll tell you that he's a realist. He is not. And you don't even have to take my word for it. Just, yeah, spend some time with him. I mean, you have to wait for him to get comfortable. because it's not the same mechanisms when he doesn't know you. He's like jolly and all that stuff, but then let him get comfortable, and all of a sudden you'll see him getting really worked up about really unlikely problems or problems that have very little cost. Or he'll tell you, so I now that we've heard we're mom doesn't think we're rambling, we're just ready to start rambling. So hold on, let's watch it. Also, Oliver, you are killing me right now, bro. You still don't want to come over here? No, I get that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, I had this health insurance problem. The health insurance company fucked up. He was just certain, beyond a shadow of a doubt. I mean, you just make these mocking statements to people. My partner, my mother. He's not gonna get them to pay that. Basically, they told me something cost $35, and I got a bill for $550. And he was like, "You just got paid the $550," because he's probably the worst socialist. Okay, that's some of his mechanisms are great socialists, but he's also someone who's like, he's English. He's like a rule follower. He's like, how to be a good person is to do what the authorities tell you. There's real conflict in this man, and I want him to be able to see it and work through it rather than denying it. Anyway, so he was just like, pay them, pay the bill. You got screwed over by a private health insurance company. So what? What are we gonna do? Be activist socialists? And I was just like, yeah, I am gonna do that because you taught me to be a socialist. You didn't teach me how to do it, but you taught me the theory. So no, I'm not gonna lie down and take this. It's okay. Took about 4 months. Had to go to the Illinois Department of Insurance, submit a complaint. Christmas Eve, I got a call from Aetna because I should be naming and shaming. Fuck you, Aetna. Got a call from Aetna Health. Hey, yeah, so we just got a thing from, and who I had been talking to Aetna for months. And then about a week after I submit my complaint, they call me, hey, yeah, so based on the Illinois Department of Insurance, yeah, so we have a record of a call where we told you the procedure would cost $35, and then we let the hospital bill you $550. So that's our bad. So we're going to cover that. Hey, Dad. So I was thinking, over the whole Aetna thing. So, if let's say that I don't get it resolved by, let's say the end of May, I don't know. How about I owe you $200? And if I do get it resolved by, again, let's say May 31st, end of the fiscal year or whatever, then you pay me $200. What do you think? He's like, yep. All right, cool. Check your messages, bro. Just sent you a recording of a call. Okay, so anyway, the point is, my dad's a pessimist. He's not a realist. I should have definitely asked him for the full, like, 515, 20, no, $515. But I should have done it before the thing. But I had him in my ear telling me it's not possible, so I didn't really know whether it was possible. It was hard for me to feel confident about it. Anyway, so it's 2023, and I think it was in like 2022 or beginning of 2023. It tells me I'm off my record. So I'm trying to be more cautious with having conversations about the ideas because he'll shut these conversations down so quickly. So you kind of got to be a little bit subtle with it. But I haven't figured anything out how to do that. And one day he says to me that he read an article about the mental health value of optimism. And I've probably talked about this in so many videos, but so let's move, Eris. Okay, great. I will. I'm gonna do this quickly. Um, so he tells me that he's read this article and that there are psychological health benefits to, thinking about potential positive outcomes and also like real life practical benefits, I think, also in the article, besides the ones that follow from being psychologically healthy. And so that seemed really important to me, a great starting point for an evolution of his forecast mechanisms, affective or valence forecast. Anyway, um, and so I said, awesome, awesome. He tells me about this article. He tells me that he's gonna be like more optimistic. So I say, okay, great. So how are we gonna do that, right? And he goes, what do you mean? And I go, well, so like you want to practice like optimism or something. And he goes, yeah, I will. I go, right. So let's talk now about how you could go, make that journey. And he goes, what do you mean? I'm gonna be more optimistic. And I go, well, you can't just be more optimistic. He says, of course I can. I've read this article. I'm gonna consciously decide now to be more optimistic. The way I'm picturing it now, I mean, that just makes me laugh. So I might have just, um, yeah, there is no like conscious, central conscious deciding self that can just change the mechanisms. I don't know how I phrased it. Thank you, mother. I am not going to refer to you as mother because that is, I mean, all of this is just a little boy talking about mommy and daddy. But thank you, neuro woman. So, so I said, no, there is no like conscious self that can do that. He says, of course there is. No, Dad. No, there isn't. Can we have a dialogue? Of course there is, Eris. I'm gonna now be an optimist. Still not an optimist. He's still always saying a negative thing and calling it pragmatism. He did not improve as far as I know. Maybe in his inner life, I have no idea, but in his outer life, his public life, the way he interacts with people, the things he expresses, I don't see any difference. So, I wrote here, Dad and I could have worked together, but he can't hear and allow for consideration my opinion. And I think that I have earned that. I've earned considering my opinion, asking me questions, giving me an opportunity to give the evidence for it, ask me questions about the evidence for it, blah, blah, blah. Then I wrote, he doesn't think that my opinion is evidence. I don't know if that's a true statement, but he certainly seems to not think that my opinion is evidenced. Um, I think that, and I think there is an absence of that thought. Eris's opinion is evidenced. Because I think if that thought were, or it's just so weak. But if that thought had average strength in his mind, well, he would be asking me about the evidence. He would be curious about it. He'd say, hey, give me, what do you think I should read? Something that kind of explains your thing. Or, hey, can we sit down? I want to hear, like, what you think and why you think it. So it doesn't seem like to me that he thinks, but I don't know that we can say that there's a statement, there's a thought in his mind. Eris's opinion is not evidence. I don't think so. And that's what's amazing about the mind is that these nuances matter, and then these things are possible. That everything in your behavior and thinking seems to indicate that there is that thought in there, but it isn't in there because the mind is modular, and so it's just a lot funnier than you would think it would be when you if you think that it's a singular coherent thing. So when I wrote this down, because it was something that I was thinking about saying, he doesn't think my opinion is evidenced as sort of a problem for why we unfortunately haven't been able to work together. I heard in my head, but you also don't think his opinion is scientifically evidenced. That's true. That's true. Now, I don't know if we're going to resolve that, but what I think is interesting is that that's a problem for you. So what? That he thinks that let's suppose for a moment that he believes my opinion is not evidenced. I definitely believe that his opinion about the mind, as I understand it, is not evidenced. Right? We're on this wild goose chase looking for evidence for this magical consciousness thing, or this consciousness agent, this conscious agent. But doesn't it imp, as in, doesn't it seem, I can just say seem, doesn't it seem like that puts us in a level playing field? The fact that he doesn't think my opinion is evidence and I don't think his opinion is evidence, doesn't it seem like it cancels out? Well, what's interesting about that to me is that if we were rational angels, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't cancel out. I'm pretty sure we would immediately be wondering, okay, and what does the evidence show? What information do we have? Right? So, but before you switch over to that rational thing, because of course you do have some its that are reasonable, I really want to tap into your experience when I say to you, I think that that person's opinion is not evidenced, but they also think that my opinion is not evidenced. Isn't there a feeling of like, oh well, cancels out? That's isn't there? Admit it. Isn't there? I think there is. For me, there definitely is. Because I mean, it popped in my head as a negation of that thing. But actually, what does one thing even have to do with the other? What does my claim that his opinion isn't evidence have to do with his claim that my opinion isn't evidence? So that's one of our more primitive, pre-scientific, pre-higher reason kind of mechanisms. So there's like an it, as I would put it, of actually I don't know how I would phrase it. Imagine a scenario. A, B, and C are the people. A says, B, you're an asshole. C whispers to A, okay, but he thinks you're an asshole. So I feel like, oh, my credence in what A said has now just dropped. Okay, how would I phrase that, isn't it? Not sure. I think I could, I mean, well, I know that I could do it, but I'm thinking I would have to allocate some resources to that now, and I'm thinking I don't want to do that actually. So, because my girlfriend's gonna be back soon, I kind of want to just hang out with her. So, or maybe that's a bullshit reason because I couldn't think of one. Okay. Anyway, so like it. So okay. So then I wrote, but you also don't think his opinion is evidence in quotes. And then I had this other thought, so hold off on that for a second. I wrote in quotes, he says X, you say Y. end quote. Okay, right, but those things don't cancel out. What does the evidence say? Right? So, what does science say? What I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to kind of talk about, I'm kind of trying to be a futurist right now. I'm trying to talk about something cool that I think is going to happen in the future by talking about something cool that happened in the past in our species timeline. You might have no idea what I'm saying right now. Bear with me, and maybe you will. I don't really know if I'm going to do a good job of articulating this. So, and these numbers are no good, but let's say 5,000 years ago, if person A said X and person B was saying Y, then what are we going to do? I mean, unless it's something really obvious, like person A is saying this is blue and person B is saying this is red. Okay. Well, I guess that's not a good example, maybe. But but um but now we have this thing called science where we can, do analysis, and that's like part of our thinking, part of our culture where, in a lot of people, probably not even half, but in a lot of people, there is a mechanism that goes, let's check the evidence. I don't give a shit. I mean, I give a shit, but we have two narratives. We're not just gonna go, oh, which one sits better. Oh, by the way, that's what we were doing, let's say 5,000 years ago, and what most people still do is, okay, X is possible, Y is possible. Which one feels better? Gosh, I had some passengers the other day. I have to tell you, I had some passengers the other day, and they were Christian, and so I'm kind of talking about the brain. I don't know that they're Christian yet, and that they're, like hardcore Bible group religious, um, and I basically say it turns out we're not like angels. We're just like dumb animals. We're just these cells. And he says to me, I used to think that. And then at another point in the conversation, he's talking about, oh no, I think at that point, because we rewatched it recently, and he said, that used to be what made the most sense to me. And then, obviously now it's the Bible that, or whatever his past or whatever is what makes the most sense to him. But of course, I'm completely disinterested in that by itself. That something made sense to you and then something else made sense to you, because that could have just been your mechanisms that changed. So, it's not the thing that changed. It's just that you didn't have a play. You didn't have a about God back when you were in engineering school, and were raised atheist or non-religious or non-practicing, whatever. The God thing, it didn't sit right with you. But then you changed, your needs changed, your thinking changed, and so on. And then that God thing sat with you. You know, when you were in engineering school, the whole we are cells thing made sense to you, but it didn't make a lot of sense to you. You hated it. You felt like life was meaningless and you were lost and so on, which is why. So it sat with you kind of, but not really. But it sat with you the best because you were in engineering school surrounded by people who would have mocked you for going to Bible study. So okay. But then something changed, maybe you dropped out. I don't really know what happened, Ron, but then all of a sudden the chairs changed, is what I'm saying. And now the we ourselves thing didn't sit with you at all. And now these um we're on the metaphor, the pun is on the tip of our tongue. The pew, the what do you call it? The not the pedestal, the pulp. No, not. What does a professor speak at? It's still a pulpit, right? So I don't want to use that. Okay. Anyway, the office chair got switched with pews. So of course, what sat there was different. Makes sense. So, um, now what would be interesting to me is if you say, I used to think this, and then I got this new information. Then I know it's the information that changed, and you can tell me what that information is, and then I can change from that. But if I just change and just become receptive to different things. So anyway, the point is that thinking that deciding between X and Y should be about what sits right, what makes sense to us, is alive and well. Okay. But fortunately, there's some minority of people who are like, if I have to choose between X and Y, I need to go look at information. Um, and not just see how that information sits with me, but, try to get as objective as I can and let my change be accounted for by the information, not a change in me, the interpreter. Okay. Okay. There is an exception to that. Absolutely. Yeah. Because if you went from not valuing evidence, for instance, to valuing evidence, then that is a change in the person and not a change in the information. Anyway. So, um, so I was thinking about how, well, again, even today, people can be like, oh, X or Y, which one feels better? But the correct response is, let's do a test. Let's do science. Okay, well now let's say there is evidence, there is information for X and for Y. Oh no, now what do we do? How do we compare these? Well, we don't have it yet, but it's 2026, so it's been about a year since the big launch of AI, or maybe 2 or 3 years. I guess ChatGPT we had in like 2022 or 2023 or something. But now it's you know everywhere, relatively speaking, and so but at some point it's really gonna be everywhere, where you can say, okay, gosh, I'm getting all tangled up. There's a lot of noise. Oh, sorry. Also, I'm probably running the worst mechanisms right now because I'm pretty tired. So maybe I should just stop, but I'm just gonna keep going. Um, so yeah, obviously, in the future, not too long from now, we're gonna be able to submit to claims to podium. Wow. So clutch. That is so awesome. That is my mom, bro. Great job, mom. Great job. Podium is what I was looking for. So the podium got switched for a pew, so of course different things made sense in it. Great job. Okay. Um I mean, obviously you don't sit on a podium, but podium is definitely the word I was looking for. But you can say you sit at a podium, so it can still maybe work. Anyway, so this is really just half baked what I'm saying, but I think if it's also yeah, and there are a lot of like pieces that I'm not thinking of and saying, but if they're already in you, then yeah, you understand. At some point soon, we're going to be able to say, hey, AI. Um, Actually, what I'm saying is actually bullshit. It's not, but it's just irrelevant because science. No, we're still at the first one. Dad says that if Dad is supposing for a moment that Dad believes that my opinions are not evidenced, and I know that I believe that his opinions, well, the ones that diverge from mine about the mind, are not evidenced. We don't need an AI evaluator. We can, and it's not science either. It's Alaris, so it's still something we haven't invented yet, or something that we can't use yet. But yeah, Yeah, there will be a way, I hope, where we can evaluate claims. Right now, the only way to compare claims is kind of just science. And then if it's really, really, really basic and the premises are like really simple, okay, then we can use logic. But our logic is not that advanced where we can. Anyway, I've spent way too much time on this. All right, moving on. Moving on. So what have we talked about? Oh right. And so then oh right, that's what it was. And that's why we did the call at the top of this live stream. Unfortunately inconclusive. Our little experiment, our little logical test thing, whatever. So since I'm live streaming, can you do Pev Oliver on the porch and stuff? Because I know this is not a great opportunity to work with the dogs. Neo, come here. Neo, come here. Come here now. Good boys. Good. Keep coming. Come here, Neo. Come here, Abbott. Good boy, buddy. Abbott, come here now.
No.
Abbott,
Abbott. Good boy. Abbott.
come here.
Down. Abbott down. Good. Down. Good boy. Push it. Push it. Good boys.
So I obviously didn't feel comfortable making a claim on the live stream that so here's what I wrote. Let's do a chat right now where I ask him to give the evidence for his opinion and see if he asks me for mine. I honestly can't think of a single piece of evidence, right? And so I don't want to go but I don't know if that's because he doesn't have any or because I'm just ignorant and arrogant. And, I'm just ignoring all the evidence that he's given me. Because I know I tried to give him evidence. And being his son, I got to be careful. Am I thinking that he has no evidence when he's been, like, trying to sit me down and give me evidence? I know he sent me articles that are like, whoa, scientists. Okay, let's not do it in a funny voice. Scientists may have found the cellular properties that give rise to consciousness. Okay, that's not evidence. That's just an update about their search for evidence. Then also there is good evidence and bad evidence. There is little evidence and big evidence. Who was it? Penrose Hammerhoff? Is that right? The Penrose Hammerhoff thing? Anyway, the microtubules thing. Right? I have a book here. Because I know some of the articles he sent me was about that. Something about microtubules. So I just want to read something real quick. It's like an O though, like Oscar Hammerfield? No. Is that the composer? I don't know. I want to find this. Sorry. Not sorry. Let me see if there's an index. Great, there is microtubules. Great, page 45. I'm looking at page 14, 40, 42, 43, 44, 45. Yeah, Penrose Hammeroff. That's where I got this is where I got the O from. Okay, I'm gonna read this. This is a book that father bought, and I saw it lying around, and I was infuriated. How dare he buy this book when he could have a conversation with me and be introduced to some of the ideas, and that would feel really validating for me and give me an opportunity to articulate some things that maybe I don't get a lot of chances to articulate live to a person who is like responding, and where I can actually like see what they're picking up from what I'm putting down. um and by the way, Susan Blackmore, agrees with me about the self and consciousness and stuff like that. Or I guess we should say I agree with her. Let's say we agree, because I didn't get it from her and she definitely didn't get it from me. So, okay. So, Susan Blackmore, Consciousness, a very short introduction. Um, so I saw that he had this book. There was nothing written in it. I don't know how you can read without writing in it. So I took it because I'm mad that he won't let me tell him any of the stuff I've learned, and just keeps like, he won't engage with any of my ideas about the mind, but will engage with other people who have the same ideas about the mind that I do. So that makes sense why that would be frustrating, right? Okay, but that doesn't mean that we should just stay frustrated. We should still reframe, reappraise, and find peace, which is what we were going to try to do today, but we ended up just ruminating with you. So thanks for hanging out with me. And you know what? By the way, I was scrolling through people's lives yesterday. Sarah, I want to do this with you. In fact, while I'm doing this, can you just go on YouTube and so like go to my live and then scroll and just like look at what people are doing on live, bro. And and then tell me I'm being fucking stupid for worrying that I'm not like doing something significant or whatever enough. I mean, it might be that I'm not doing something fucking stupid enough. Is might be the issue. Okay, so anyway, me ranting about about my little daddy issues, I think is better than 9 out of the 10 things she's about to scroll for. Okay, so theory. So we're on page 45. Um, I'm kind of interested. Oh, but with your AirPods, sweetheart, please.
Oh, where?
I'm not really trying to hear that. I'm live streaming right now, actually, and trying to focus and wrap this up. Um, actually, I'm gonna read 5 paragraphs. Okay, so I'm gonna read pretty much all of this. Okay, theories of consciousness. I get lots of letters and emails from people. Oh, okay, my dad's English and I'm his son, so I always feel like I should be able to do a good accent. But I get lots of letters and emails from people who claim to have solved the mystery of consciousness and want to tell me their theory. The vast majority of these people, of these theories, fall into 2 categories. Either they are dualist, proposing a separate mind or soul, apparently with the view that this is a new and revolutionary idea, or they invoke the wonders of modern physics. So this paragraph, replace a couple of words, and this is what I'm trying to say to you, okay? I get lots of texts and emails from my dad who claims to have stumbled across something that solves the mystery of consciousness and wants to tell me about these theories. All of these theories fall into 2 categories. Either they're dualists, or actually, no, all of the articles he sent me um, invoke the wonders of modern physics. Dualism is always tempting because it fits so well with our intuitions, but very few philosophers or scientists think it could be true. By the way, and just for a timeline, I stole this book from my father. It says, look, November 24th, taken from dad because, and a little bit insulting. Well, I said pseudo intellectuals, not that bad, because pseudo intellectuals don't get to hoard books they won't read or understand. I shouldn't have read that last word. Because I think, a lot of this stuff he could understand if he weren't so resistant, committed to his intuitions, and also there's a my side bias, right? first of all, to his credit, he did something awesome, which was tell me that he doesn't believe in free will, which is something I wanted him to understand. That free will is not real. Um, and so he said, "Oh yeah, it isn't real." That said, it was very convenient for him because I remember then one time I said to him about how he can respond differently to things. He said, "No, I can't. We agree. There's no free will." Okay, right. So you can't like that respond differently to things. You can't choose to respond differently to things, but you can contrive conditions that force you to practice responding differently to things. Okay? We should definitely unpack that in a video. Okay, anyway, so dualism is always tempting because it fits so well with our intuitions, but very few philosophers or scientists think it could be true. Again, hence pseudo. In the 1970s, Popper and Eccles proposed their theory of dualist interactionism. I'm going to skip this part. Not relevant. Dad would not agree with this. Like, Dad is a dualist, and he's going to be furious I said that. Prove me wrong. Try to talk about yourself as a brain without talking about, oh, my brain does this and I do this. Because that is consistently how he talks. More subtle versions of dualism are called dual aspect or property. We're going to skip this as well. Okay, theories based in modern physics take a different approach. Some liken such strange effects as non-locality, entanglement, or wave-particle duality to strange effects in consciousness and claim that one can explain the other. Some draw upon the controversial idea that a conscious observer is required to explain the collapse of the wave function in quantum mechanics. Semicolon. But the best known theory is the Penrose-Hameroff model of orchestrated objective reduction. Whatever. OR. They argue that the tiny microtubules found in every brain cell are not the structural elements described by biologists, but are quantum computers that okay, let's not do it in a silly voice, but it's just so fucking silly. I think I am gonna, because it's so silly that I think it's okay. But are quantum computers that allow for quantum coherence and non-local interactions in the brain. This, they claim, explains the unity of consciousness and the possibility of free will, as well as Lebes's odd timing effects. That's how, like, we see the readiness potential, that the decision has been made before the conscious observer reports having made a decision. Or, reports that they made a decision. So not before the report, but before the time they made the decision according to their report. This, they claim, explains the unity, or I just said that, yet even if quantum computing does occur in brains, which is highly controversial, she put in parentheses, this still does not explain subjectivity. Many people conclude that quantum theories of consciousness sound, I skipped a bit to the bottom of the page, many people conclude that quantum theories of consciousness sound eminently plausible if you know nothing about math and physics, and that in fact the theories are merely replacing one exciting sounding mystery with another. Fucking love this. I've been saying this. And I even said this to my passengers, by the way. So another thing about the same passenger, at the very end of the ride, he starts talking about the observer effect. And I said to him, the only time I ever hear non-quantum physicists, by the way, I've never heard a quantum physicist talk about the observer effect. Not that they don't, but I just don't talk to quantum physicists. So the only time I ever hear anybody, and also don't watch lectures about that, the only time I ever hear anybody talk about quantum mechanics is when they want to talk about how souls and gods are real. And he called it, by the way, the slot experiment, which I know it's a bit of a cheap insult here to call him out on that. But I think it does go to show that he's not a quantum physicist. I said, yeah, the double slit. Okay, right. Um, but yeah. And as I said to Sarah yesterday when we were talking about this and watching this ride, um, the fact that there is a mystery in the world, the fact that there is something we don't know. Well, this has probably already been phrased by some philosopher or scientist in a really pithy, cool way. But the fact that I'm still gonna try. The fact that we don't know something doesn't mean that we know something. Okay, the fact that we don't know what's going on with the observer effect doesn't mean that we are magical beings entangled with the photons or whatever. Um, it means there's things we don't know, not that all the things that you've imagined are true. It is not. What about absence of evidence? Evidence of absence. If we tweak that a little bit, that can be apropos. An absence of explanation doesn't mean the presence of magic. I don't know. Anyway, okay. So, and that's so validating. I am really glad he bought this book, even if he wasn't happy with me for stealing it off of him and saying to him, "Shame on you for not being willing to engage with my ideas." So anyway, he bought a second copy. Here's what we can do. You want to do a bet with me, random viewer? In fact, every single random viewer. Every single viewer who thinks that who wants to bet against me that he has read none of it. Here's how we can bet. There's 134 pages in the main text. Subtract from that the pages that he's read. That doesn't make any sense because you probably don't think that he read the whole thing, so I would still be making money. However many pages never mind. I'm not a bookie, bro. I've never gambled in my life, bro. So I don't know how it's. Also, I don't think you have to think of a funny bet, but I'm tired, so that's my excuse. But anyway, propose something, and I'm happy to take a bet or to do a bet, whatever. Okay, so we talked about why I'm here in Springfield. So I love the homeowner. That's a big reason. And also I love my previous homeowner. Just can't stand him either. Dad and I could have worked together, blah blah. We talked about the cognitive dissonance. I put it down. It's on record. What is difficult? I care to know whether or not I have any right to be talking to you about the brain. The fact that Dad won't let me talk to him about the brain makes me think, and this is part of my error. I take that as evidence, and this my error, taking that as evidence that I don't have a right to talk to you about my brain, because instead he doesn't want me to talk about the brain because he gets overwhelmed by the cognitive dissonance. He has a narrative. I'm presenting a different narrative. But see, that's why I talked about all this stuff about the mind being modular and empiricism and all that stuff he taught me. Because I know that the stuff I'm saying agrees with parts of him. And so there's a way to, this is a good approach to, so that it doesn't feel like cognitive dissonance. Conscious agent isn't real, which fits perfectly in with your thinking that we are just evolved material things. I remember he sent me this article about how cells evolved to like be magical. Obviously, that would be an offensive reduction to him, but I think that there's a whole bunch of neuroscientists that would agree with that characterization. Okay, but I don't want to make no progress with what I set out to do with this live stream, and so we're just going to pick it up tomorrow. But let's try to make a little bit of progress. So we're going to write that down. So dad's wait, which notebook is this? Therapy, great. Dad's resistance to my neuro opinions could be evidence of the low quality of my opinions. But that said, he's also admitted to not understanding my opinions, and he also has, engaged with them minimally. So, of the low quality of my opinions. Now, I should note that if he understood them, right? And that's a big if, and we actually know that, well, he doesn't, so that's great. So, therefore, he doesn't. Therefore, not evidence. Okay, great. So that's something to remind myself of. Also, could be evidence of his own resistance to cognitive dissonance, resistance to status threat, right? Recently, since I moved back, he bought a chessboard. Um, I think we actually did play a second game, but it was consecutive. Yeah, as I mentioned, chess to me sense. And chess is always what I think of when I think of, when I was a kid and I started beating him and he realized, oh shit, my son's gonna be smarter than I am. It was because, I was beating him at chess. Maybe he was letting me win, but I know he has said out loud and he wasn't letting me win, but maybe he was just doing that to flatter me. I don't know. So anyway, so dad's resistance to my neuro opinions could also, instead of being evidence about my opinions, be evidence about him, of his own resistance to cognitive dissonance, of his resistance to the status threat. My son is teaching me. And I know for a fact that part of him would want to encourage that, but that part of him is about this small compared to the part that's like, no, that arrogant piece of shit can't be, rub it in my face that he's smarter than me or something. I don't know. Or, oh, but then I'm going to lose ground in all arguments. And then, in control. This is resistance to anxiety. We all have that. That's perfectly understandable. And then, of course, that resistance to anxiety is turning into maintenance of a need for something that ends in ence. Anyway, a persistence in control. Great. That actually wasn't the objective today, but that's good. That's great. Or that's great. What else? So then so that's great. The objective today, it all started Well, I don't remember what my objectives were when I got up this morning. Well, it was basically to live stream and set up my office. So I've live streamed. So great job, Eris. Great job. Okay. Thank you. So, so you see this thing here? So you see this monitor here? Well, I had another monitor, a nice big one. And yesterday, or not yesterday, the day before, when I was about to come down here and I was preparing my things, I broke it. I was mad. I didn't break it intentionally. I'm saying I was distracted by the anger. Um, so you're gonna see that. Um, Maybe I'll upload that this week. What happened? Well, not the monitor breaking, but why I was mad. So my mother, father, and I, we were reading something from a book about the brain. We were reading How to Be Human, which I had been doing on a bunch of live streams. So I'm finishing up that book. There are scripts in the book of between three characters: a neuroscientist, a monk, and the author of the book. Those are the three characters. I can't wait to have some whiskey and relax. All right, let's set a 8 minutes. We can do 8 minutes, and then we're freaking out of here, bro. So we're reading this, and I think I'm insulted by the audacity too. Yeah. Anyway, so we're reading this. A lot of this stuff isn't what I'm about to say. There's definitely room for interpretation, but I have known the man 30 years, so yeah. I hope my interpretation counts for something, even if it shouldn't count for fact, though. Okay. We get to a line, and he's like nodding emphatically, right? And maybe I just had a flashback to when I was telling him a story about my relationship with Sarah before we were romantic. In fact, I was telling him the story of how we became romantic, and he was asking what had changed because she had been like, "No, nigga, like not you, bro. I want this." Oh, anyway, that's we'll leave that for her channel. So he asked what had changed, and I mentioned that she had been concerned about my financial prospects, whether I could make any money. And all of a sudden, by the way, because sometimes, so usually when he is listening, if it's gone past 30 seconds, he's probably thinking about something else. He's probably like half listening, right? So you don't get a lot of engagement. But then all of a sudden he hears that, and he's because he's on my case. He Oh, and that's another part of the story. That's another part of the cognitive dissonance. I think that especially if I were a little more confident, which we're working up to, it's gonna happen. We're just gonna keep doing this, bro, and we're just gonna feel more legitimate, um, and then we're gonna be more charming or something, and more compelling or whatever, and we're gonna command more attention. Um, so, um, he uh he keeps telling me, "Oh, you got to get a job. You got to get a job." And I'm like, "But I think if I focus on this can get me I can pay my bills this way and focus on, what I care about doing, which is not live streaming, but thinking about these things and coming up with useful shit from it." No, I don't think I said much. No, you know what? Fuck you. I do think I said, actually, even in this stream, have said useful things. Can't think of what they are, but I'm standing by it.
I agree.
Thank you.
Definitely think that's true.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Um, and mom said, "Don't doubt this is interesting." Okay, great. So, um, any idea what I was talking about? Yeah, no, it's okay. It's really, really okay. Thank you for jumping in there, though. Making money. Ah, nodding emphatically. That's what it was. Great. Okay. Um. Oh, so yeah, another part of the cognitive dissonance and something that I feel like I'd have a lot more motivation and oomph for this YouTube thing if I wasn't hearing from someone close to me that I want to impress and whose opinion has a lot of weight for me. That hey, if you want any money, you can do the YouTube thing on the side, but you also have bills. You need money. You should work in a casino or something. So, anyway, woe is me, but woe is also you, Dad, of course. And so, let me leave room for that. You're not just a transgressor, you are also a victim of, a lot of how those mechanisms are interacting. I know things are hard for you, that wasn't supposed to be insulting. I just heard you kind of chuckle and go, "Oh, wow, well, that's a jab." Nope, things are hard for me, bro. It's hard being a human, especially when you really look at it and at yourself. um and emotions and different interpretive mechanisms, they're fucking tricky, and one error can get compounded and it can just get really messy really quickly. And then we take it out on other people or something. Okay, anyway, so he starts nodding emphatically about something that we had just read. ah Only have 3 minutes, and there's a video anyway. And it was something that I disagree with, by the way, is the important thing. um and so I don't remember whether I let that one go and then there was another instance, or whether for that instance I said something to the camera saying that that thing that was being read is, I disagree with it. I think it's wrong. And then he said, like, you think it's right or you think it's wrong? Well, because I said you can do blank. The text had said you can't do blank. I said you can do blank. Yes, I remember it was the first instance. He's nodding emphatically. I say to the camera that the thing that the text just said you can't do, I think you can do. He said you can or you can't. I said you can. He said no, you can't. Blah blah. And then we kind of discuss it, and it was just like, fuck, fuck. I'm trying really hard to believe in the story that I can be a source of information for non experts about the mind, even for some experts, as we saw at the neuroscience conference. Well, I guess maybe those people that I was a source of information for, they were people who like sold research equipment or something. They don't actually do the research. No, there were definitely people who were actually actively doing the research. And yeah, so okay, great. So I believe I can be a source of information for, you know, um, postdocs and above in the field of neuroscience. Sorry, no, I meant postdocs and below in the field of neuroscience. Um, and at least. So my dad is nowhere near a postdoc in the field of neuroscience. And so here we are, like going back and forth, sort of, and him like making some pretty outrageous claims, such as that a robot could not feel or experience empathy or sadness or anything. Um, Currently, we don't have robots set up that way, but that's a pretty wild claim to say that that's just like impossible. It's just the nerve, the audacity to. I just said that it's possible in my first story of where I'm like a legitimate knower and thinker and claimer in this field. Um, that should count for something that I just said that it is possible. Then he shows me it doesn't count for anything. It's like, fuck, I was so close to being out the house. We had gone like 2 weeks where I hadn't felt like you rubbed it in my face that I'm delusional. Again, without any evidence, because I would love if you could show me that I'm or, give me evidence, that I'm delusional. Of course, maybe you have a delusional person. As a delusional person, I wouldn't know, would I? But no, I'm not a delusional person. Stop rehearsing that, Eris. Okay, great. Anybody watching believes that you're humble. You don't have to constantly keep proving it. Do they? No, they probably don't. But okay, whatever. Maybe they do. Oh God, move on, Eris. I'm trying. Okay, so I was hoping to not engage with him about consciousness or the mind, or have him, especially in a video like on my channel, start to tell me that something is like, or start to share an opinion, but without any evidence, any nothing concrete. Just like, hey, okay, wait, that's crazy that you believe that. Damn. Okay. Which he didn't literally say, but yeah, anyway. So I was pretty resentful of that, and you know what? Also, I shouldn't justify because I definitely was feeling a more intense frustration than is practical or justified. So I was feeling this frustration, and it's just me and him in the office. I don't know why he's still there. We finished the video. I'm starting to pack things up, and I'm trying to get this monitor off the desk, and also trying not to say anything to him because don't want to start a big emotional thing before I leave. Um, I mean, I was comfortable not saying goodbye to him, but that's about it. I didn't want to have a big blow up. So I'm just trying to resist the urge to say anything. I'm taking this monitor off the desk and I'm holding it, but it has this complicated arm system with these different joints, and so I'm holding it. I'm trying to get it off the desk, and it falls toward him, and and it falls. I also didn't want to ask him for help with the monitor because of what I was experiencing. I didn't want any engagement. I didn't want him to be there because I was worried about what I might feel compelled to express. Um, and if I expressed anything at all, he would have a big reaction, which would get me even, angrier. And so, monitor falls. The front glass doesn't break, or whatever doesn't break, but the LCD layer behind it does. But I don't notice that. I come down here, I set it up, I see that it's broken, and so I tell my family, "Yeah, it's broken, oopsies," and then there's this price. I was thinking about the price. I looked it up, and I was like, "Damn, did we pay 600 for that, or did they pay 600 for that monitor?" Fuck, God, I feel terrible. I barely even used it. It just kind of sat there in the office. God, oopsies. And then I found out that we had paid 300 for it, which is not pennies, but well, it is pennies. It's 30,000 of them, but so it's still a good sum. Yeah, still a good sum, and but anyway, it's not as big of a sum as 600, and so I was quite relieved, and I expressed that relief to my mother, but added, but I still lesson learned, and how I expressed that was I'll be more careful, in the future. And so this morning, so that was yesterday. This morning, she asked, "Hey, you want to let your dad know that you'll be more careful in the future?" There's a lot I want to express to my dad. That piece isn't super high on the list. Even something higher is, "Hey, why didn't you offer to help me out?" As I was trying to disconnect the monitor. So I was a bit stuck on that this morning. I was stuck on that this morning. I I need to figure out. I need to resolve it. I needed to. So I start typing this message to my mother, and it was just repetitive and rambling, and let's see. And it was repetitive rambling because, like, as I'm writing, and I'm also kind of trying to convince myself, um, like, I believe that it's not. I do believe that it's not like a worthwhile thing for the. I left without saying goodbye. There's a lot of things that I think we need to talk about, and I want to put some pressure on him about that. Um, I don't think that I need to. I don't think that it makes sense. I don't think that it. I don't think that it's a thumbs up for me to. I don't. I don't want to say to him, "Hey, I'm going to be more careful in the future with monitors." That's not something I feel like doing. Well, also not only that I don't feel like doing it, I think I also think that it's doesn't make any sense to do that. So anyway, so I'm starting to, but I don't really know, and I'm feeling guilty. I'm thinking maybe I should, and then every time I imagine doing it, I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. And so anyway, so I typed this message to, I say it was this morning. I got up at noon, so I send this message to mother. No, I don't send it. I type it. At 12:58. I was being careful. It's a tricky thing. It has an arm with like different joints, and so I was holding part of the arm, but the wrong part. And so then like a different part of the arm folded, and the screen came crashing down. I wasn't being reckless or careless. I was partly distracted, and also the arm was complicated, and I made a mistake. People sometimes break things because they miscalculate or have a lapse in attention at the wrong moment. That's not necessarily something to fix in my general approach. Things happen. I think I've only broken this one monitor in my life. To be honest, I'm not going to be more careful. I am careful. Still can't guarantee I'll never break anything. But Dad's attacks on my confidence and spirit aren't accidental, even if they're unintentional. He is very consistent, which is what makes this ironic. I was on my way out the door, and he reminded me why I'm leaving. As I was processing that, an accident happened. But the reason I was leaving is not a singular accident. So by the time I write this last thing, I'm like, what is going on? What am I doing? Didn't I have like big plans for today? And here I am, just absolutely just. So I was like, I need a way to put this out of my mind, or to, in some simple way, give it enough resolution to feel peace about it. And that's what I want to do today. So I did a little bit. I talked to the therapist, and so anyway, so all right. So I don't know if that's what we'll talk about tomorrow. I mean, that is part of my journey at the moment, but the main thing is I have to prepare for these meetings. So I have to read this in like 3 weeks, and another book in 3 weeks, and ideally a third book. But the third book, can you hear me when I'm down there? I don't see it right now. Third book is smaller. It's one of these. But anyway, there you go. Welcome to my. I was about to say my fucking life, but it was just to say something self-deprecating. I have an amazingly lucky life. I mean, like, I'm extremely lucky. Um, I have very few complaints about. I have complaints about some things in my life, but very few complaints about. This is the book, by the way. I don't need to look through it. This is the book. So this one, and then another one. Actually, it's pretty short. I think it's probably so. We have to read this. Let's say this month, and for someone who is not a prolific reader, luckily, whenever I read, it's about the brain. So I've read a lot of stuff about the brain, but also, I don't even think I read 3 books last year. So it's going to be a challenge, and so I think, and so it's going to be a focus. But then also, we probably want to there is some stuff about reframing, about frustrations, and when I get stuck in a loop that I do want to do because that's important to my romantic relationship right now, and then also will be valuable for my streaming, and will also be cool as one of the first things that I find for my viewers um, since starting regularly, since starting to live stream regularly, and that's today that we're starting. So I think we'll probably go on every day pretty much. Um, Something else. One last thing. Was it a thing that I want to do? Was it a thing about Father? Thank you, Father. Love you, Father, for all that you've taught me. And there are things I want to teach you too, bro. So let me, please. And honestly, everything will be fine. Um, Everything will be fine. There might be like a little, hey, Dad, you want to like say, oh gosh, son, I was resistant to this for a long time for no reason. Yeah, maybe I'll ask you to say a little something like that. No big deal, bro. Because remember, you're not a single thing. So that when that statement comes out about being wrong in the past, when there's plenty of evidence telling you that you're wrong, and so let's being stupid in the past. It's not actually about you, the statement presenter. You are that statement came from different activity than the stupidity. You can one thing that's great about realizing that there's no central single self or consistent self, diachronic and something else chronic. Okay, we're not gonna be able to find that right now. There's continuity through time and then like coherence in a moment. Okay, and neither of those things are traits of a person. The evidence indicates, and we're gonna look a lot of that evidence. Kind of, yeah, it's gonna what we're gonna be doing this month a lot. Okay, so the great thing is that when you understand that you're not diachronic, I don't think that's right, but when you understand that you're not the same thing as the thing that was called Frank yesterday, you have no more loyalty. You're not like to blame for that. And so you can be like this new like self, this instantiation of Frank who comes in and it's just like this cool guy who's like, oh wow. So that other those cells that that arrangement of cells, that activity that produced, all that resistance to your stuff, Eris, yeah. But I'm here now, I'm listening, I'm curious, I want us to learn together. I trust you, whatever. You can write the speech yourself, but I do think it should be at least 10 minutes. And then you just look really good, right? We're not judging this brain activity for that brain activity. You understand? So it's like really freeing. Um, and I just want to free you, bro. So, wow, I just had a little cartoon of us with wings and like pixie rainbow shit coming out of our asses. So we're like propelled through the air, and there's like a song happening. And it's just really, really nice. So looking forward to it, bro. Um, when I say I just had, I mean that just like popped into my head. Um, yeah, so great. So great. Great. So